Kevin at Pope with the Pope's Perspective. Now, it's been a while since I've made a video, and there's multiple reasons for that. Dealing with equipment, space, time, I mean, there's just a lot of complicated things to talk about. So right now, I'm currently in a library that I've rented out a room, and I am using their equipment. Sorry about the echo, but I really wanted to make this video while I was thinking about it, and I think it's good to make a video, even if it's in the more primitive things, like I've not been able to get the, you know, I don't want to talk all that time. Let's get into the video. And so I want to first talk, and I'm going to go on some tangents. I'm going to warn you there. I'm going to go on some tangents, but it's all going to be connected. So I'm not really necessarily going to be reviewing every one of these movies I talk about it, but they all connect. And what this is essentially about is, I'm going to call this virtual storytelling, okay? And this is like, I'm talking about films that either have the entirety or have a fair amount of sequences where the storytelling is done through visuals, no dialogue. I mean, you may have audio and sounds of things that's going on, but like actually no dialogue, no speaking, no narration, just discovering the story through the visuals and just, I'm gonna call it visual storytelling. I mean, it's all part of storytelling. I mean, audio is still part of the visual storytelling, and you hear the audio with the visuals, but anyway, I'm sorry if that was a long explanation. I don't know how best to explain it, but I'm actually gonna first start out with a film that I did see a while ago, a couple months ago, and this one isn't so much an audio storytelling, but it leads into everything about what's jump-started this video. And that film was The Wild Robot. Now, I'm not going to go on a whole review of The Wild Robot. I will say this. The Wild Robot was a film that I went and saw, and I was just blown away. Like, just amazing, amazing film. Like, it is a visually beautiful film. It tells a beautiful story. It's just one of the best animated films I have seen in years. Not just of this last year, one of the best films, DreamWorks' best animated films in at least 10 years, maybe even more than that. I mean, I can't think of another. I don't think since Rise of the Guardians that I've loved a DreamWorks film as much. Not that hasn't been DreamWorks films I haven't liked. I think that was the last DreamWorks film that really resonated with me as much as this one did. But just The Wild Robot, so just maybe a little teensy bit of tangent on The Wild Robot, but it leads into this, because so recently there's been a lot of awards talks, okay? The awards are starting to happen for the films, and I'm always curious about the best animated film. Like, I think that's a great category. I wish they had it earlier, but maybe they didn't because they didn't have enough films to have because it's more recent times we've had. Over the years, they have more and more animated films. Like back in the day, it was only like Disney, a couple of Don Blues, maybe another studio. There just wasn't as much of anime films, so there wasn't. But there's always been lots of. Anyway, I'm going off on it. Sorry, I told you I was going to go off on a tangent. But anyway, so with the award buzz, and I'm seeing The Wild Robot, I'm like, oh, this is a great film. Like, there's no way anything's going to beat this film. This has to win Best Animated Picture. So we're still waiting on a few more awards ceremonies. We haven't heard all the announcements, and there's been some nominations, and the Golden Globes is one that has already happened. And then the Golden Globes, Best Animated Picture was not The Wild Robot. And I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I've seen that film, that one, yeah, okay, out of the ones I've seen, Wild Robot's the best, like obviously the best, like it just resonated with me so much. And so I was thinking, I'm like, what kind of film would it take to beat The Wild Robot? And again, I'm seeing this film in the nominations, in other award ceremonies and upcoming, and it's gonna be nominated for the Oscars. Yeah, I'd be so surprised if this film, like, it should be nominated. And this film's called Flow. So I finally went out, I'm like, okay, what is this film that beat The Wild Robot? I'm very intrigued. So I went out to see Flow. And wow, like it is a worthy contender. Like, it is the only film out there that has any chance of beating The Wild Robot. And I can see why, okay, like if I have to rank them, like I've had such love for The Wild Robot, and so it's kind of hard for me to take that mantle down like it has, but I'm glad I'm not voting because it would be really hard for me to choose. Like, maybe just out of a little bias, I would choose The Wild Robot, but at the same time, I'm glad that this film is getting recognition because it needs the recognition so that people can know about it and people go out and see it, whether you see it in theaters or you find it online or get a physical release. And I really, really strongly encourage that we support physical releases. They're important. Like, digital's nice, but there's those physical releases are great. We need them. But that's another video, that's another topic. But anyway, so let's talk about, so like I said, this isn't going to be a review of the film Flow. I'm going to simply talk about the film Flow. So Flow, remember I told you at the beginning, we're going to talk about visual storytelling. I'm specifically talking about storytelling that's told with visuals, no dialogue. And that is what Flow is. And I didn't necessarily, I had a hunch, because I went into it, I wanted to go into the film blind. I'm like, okay, I don't know much about this film, but I want to go in and discover it, and I think that was a great way to discover it. I'm going to give you a little bit of a synopsis of Flow, but I'm only giving you the basics. The basis of the story Flow is it follows this cat. And I'm not going to tell you the circumstances or why or what happens, but anyway, this cat basically goes off on a journey. We'll say that. This cat is going off on a journey through circumstances that lead, unpredictable circumstances, at least unpredictable towards the cat. The cat doesn't know what's going on, just trying to survive, just trying to go out. And along the way, comes across these other animals. And you've got these different species of animals. And so you've just got this journey with the cat and these other animals, and it's beautiful. Like I said, there's no dialogue, and there doesn't need to be. It's a beautifully, beautifully, beautiful film. I know I said that a lot, but it is. I love storytelling like this. Like, you get a chance, go out and see Flow. So there's my little thing on Flow. But we're going to continue to talk. I wanted to use this. I'm like, you know what? There are some films I want to talk about. And one in particular, which I will get to, but I'm going to talk about a couple different films that use this sequence. Like, Flow is the only film I've probably seen that I can think of, a full-length film, that has no dialogue, that you just watch the whole way through. So some of these other films I'm talking about, they're not all no dialogue. There are sequences there is dialogue in the film, but there are sequences where they have no dialogue, no speaking, and it's telling the story without dialogue. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about the film. Maybe I won't be doing like a full review of each film, but just talk about the use of visual storytelling. And I'm going to talk about these examples that stood out to me the most. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two films that I really love. One film that most people are people are gonna know this film. Trust me, I'll get to it. Another film that I've really never gotten any reason to talk about. Like, I wanted to have a reason to talk about this, and the visual storytelling through a certain point in this film is my favorite part of the film. And then another film that actually could have benefited with no dialogue. And I will talk about that. I will talk about the history of what stood out to me about this film and how, anyway, it's going to be fun. I just want to, so it's all going to be related. It's all going to tie in. So like I said, I may give some little reviews about films, but I'm not going to do full-length reviews. Just talk a little. So the first film we're going to talk about, this is the one that everybody knows. And, okay, maybe you're even thinking about it. This is probably going to be the one that people think about. And that is the married life sequence of Up, the beginning of the film. Okay, so it's like a 4 to 5 minute sequence. Okay, we introduce the film, we meet Carl as a boy, Carl meets Ellie, and Ellie is a child, young Ellie and young Carl. It's funny because young Carl, we never hear young Carl. We hear young Ellie, and she is so talkative, and she just talks. And then the next part of the film, where it talks about their relationship, it's all in visuals. Like everybody knows this sequence and has seen this film. Like everybody, like this is probably the film of virtual storytelling that people know. Like the part, it's just so well done. So I don't know if there's much more I need to say about it because people know about it. But it's definitely great. And that's the thing what Pixar's done, like with their shorts over the years. Like most of their shorts are, yeah, the most, I would say probably maybe 2% of their shorts maybe have dialogue, because they really put out the visual storytelling in their shorts. And that's something that's been for years, even before Pixar came along, from the early days of animation. I mean, think of things like Walt Disney with what he did with Fantasia, which I will connect a little bit about Fantasia later, a little bit of a connection. But just one sequence in Fantasia. I could talk a whole video about Fantasia, but anyway, sorry, little tangents, maybe a little sneak peek, but not a sneak peek what you would think. So anyway, but that married life sequence is just, it's beautifully told. Like it could have maybe could have been just like a short film of itself. But it's, well, that'd be a really sad ending because you have like the, but that's part of what makes it so beautiful is the sadness of it, the truthfulness of it. So yeah, so we know about that one. Okay, now the film I really want to talk about, the film that one of my favorites, like this is just, the first time I remember seeing it, I was just blown away every time I watch it. Like this is like my favorite visual storytelling I've seen. I love this film so much. And that film is The Black Stallion, okay? So, for those that aren't familiar with the story of The Black Stallion, I believe it's based on a book. And in the film, at the beginning of the film, you have this boy, and he's on this cruise ship. He's on this ship. I don't know how much for a cruise ship, but he's definitely on this ship, and he's on it with his dad on some sort of a trip. We don't know much about what this trip is, but he just that he's on this trip with his father on this ship. And on the ship, there's this horse, this wild stallion. I mean, this horse is so wild, like its soul is wild. I mean, it's just, and the boy sees this horse, and from what we see, we don't even know if this horse has ever received kind treatment, like how long it's been with its keeper. It doesn't look like the keeper treats the horse very well. It really doesn't. But the boy is just kind of drawn to the horse in the beginning of the film. And we have that setup. But where the film kicks off is there, I know this is a spoiler, but this is what the film is about. So it is a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler because this is the juice of the film. Okay? It's like saying Castaway is a spoiler, saying that he ends up on the island. That's essentially what this film is. This, much like in Castaway, that's another way. Well, now you have Tom Hanks talking with Wilson a lot of the film, so I would say it's all virtual storytelling. Although that is a Castaway, great film, great Tom Hanks performance. I know, tangent, but anyway, so in the film there's a storm at sea, and it ends up being that the boy and the horse are the only survivors from this shipwreck. Okay, and that is because like the boy rescues the horse, like the horse is tied up, and the boy unties. He has his dad, like in the film, his dad gives him this pocket knife. It's like, you should have one of these, and he uses the pocket knife to free the horse. Or I don't know. I was watching it. He does anyway. The horse gets free and jumps overboard. And then the boy ends up overboard. And then it's while the boy's at sea, and the horse goes and swims by the boy, and the boy grabs onto the ropes, because the ropes that the horse was tied on or actually the beginning of the film, the boy does have a part in saving the horse because he like opens the door so the horse can get out, but the horse essentially, anyway, either way, the boy's using his pocket knife or not, the boy helps the horse out, and the horse swims by the boy, and the boy grabs the rope that were on the horse because the horse pulled loose and got out, and both the horse and the boy get over on shore. They're the only survivors in the film, and this is the meat of the film. Like you could say the last part of the film is, which it is a good film. That's part good, but the best part of this film is when that boy and the horse are on the island. So it starts, the boy is just on the island and the horse is on the island. They're kind of more separated. But through the events of the film, this bond between this boy and this horse grows. And it's all told through visual storytelling. I mean, it's just, I don't want to reveal anything on what happens during that sequence on the island because you need to just see it. It is so beautiful. It is gorgeous, and it's a beautiful story. And like I said, when at the end of the film ends up being okay, the boy ends up doing horse racing. I know that's a little bit spoiled, but it's not really. It's probably not about the film, and that's a good portion of the film. Like the whole film is great, but the best part of this film is this sequence on the island. I guess I am kind of fascinated with films where they're deserted on the island because like I love the movie Castaway, and this is kind of Castaway with a boy and a horse. But anyway, I will say this, like Castaway, I don't like the end of this last half of Castaway as much when he gets off the island. Whereas this one, like, the part when he gets off the island, it is interesting. That's another story. It almost feels like it's another chapter. Like, okay, here's another part. But it is all one story. But it's all great. It's a great film. But this section of the film, and it's like, not 40, it's about 30 minutes of the film without dialogue that tells this story of this bond between the boy and the horse. And it's just beautiful, and I love that. So, all right, now the next one is a little bit different because it's not so much, it is talking about the film, but only a different part, but it wasn't so much the film as the advertising the film that intrigued me, but it was the beginning of the film. So let's go back in time. Okay, I know it feels weird to say that this makes me feel old talking about this, but maybe it wasn't that long ago, but it was a ways back. So I remember when I went to go see Toy Story 2 in theaters. And during the trailers, they showed a trailer for Disney's upcoming film, Dinosaur. And this trailer was essentially, it was like 4 minutes, but it was essentially the first part of the film. And in this trailer, it was just, you had like it was all dinosaurs, live dinosaurs. I mean, they were digital dinosaurs, but it's filmed in physical locations. And I did learn later on that they filmed this film in physical locations, and then they put the dinosaurs into the film. But this whole sequence, this whole trailer, that is essentially the beginning of the film. Okay, you see dinosaurs, you see this dinosaur egg, and this dinosaur egg gets stolen, and this dinosaur egg ended up, basically the egg goes on a journey. I know if you've seen the trailer, if you've seen the beginning of the film, you know what I'm talking about, but it is fascinating. And you got dinosaurs like running from other dinosaurs, and you got flying dinosaurs in the water, and that's how the egg gets around, because you got dinosaurs like grabbing the egg, stealing the egg, the dinosaur gets lifted and by a dinosaur flying in the air, the dinosaur ends up in the river, in the water. I mean, that's how the egg goes on a journey, and it was just stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I remember at the time just thinking like, this looks so cool. Like I was just mesmerized. Now, interestingly enough, I remember when this film came out, and looking back, and I'm like, I didn't see Dinosaur in theaters, and I could have. I was working at summer camp, and I saw other movies. I could have seen Dinosaurs, and I'm thinking like, why didn't I see Dinosaur? And I think I know the reason why I did not initially see Dinosaur. And that was because I was intrigued by this sequence of the film where you just had the dinosaurs. No dialogue, no speaking. It was like almost like you were watching this nature film. And it was just fascinating. It reminded me of, it was a few years after BBC had done their Walking with Dinosaurs miniseries. Now, the original Walking with Dinosaurs, not the movie, even though it was technically done by the same people, but the original Walking with Dinosaurs was done in like the late 90s. And it was, for those that don't know, it was done as this kind of, they made this documentary-like film as if, it's a special effects film. I mean, it's all created, but they did it as if they had like gone back in time and filmed live dinosaurs and did a documentary about dinosaurs, like much like you have nature documentaries. And that Walking with Dinosaurs did have narration, and it's narration about the T-Rex walks through the jungle and things like that, but Walking with Dinosaurs was just amazing for its time. It was just amazing and just really fun, and we know it was a what if. It's like, this isn't exactly how dinosaurs were. It was going from what sources they had at the time and what technology they had at the time, both digital and physical effects, to create Walking with Dinosaurs. But it was an immersive experience just watching this mini-series. It's like I'm watching a mini-series about dinosaurs, this nature documentary about dinosaurs, and it was just fantastic. So when Disney put out this film Dinosaur, and it's like, ooh, this looks really cool. I really like this. I love dinosaurs. So what are they gonna do with this movie? Like, oh, I really like this. And I think I was even thinking at the time, I'm like, wouldn't that be interesting if they did the whole movie and they didn't have the dinosaurs talk? They just did kind of like what they did with Walking with Dinosaurs, but with no narration, and you're just following the story with the dinosaurs, similar to today with Flow. You find him following the story with the animals, and that's what I love about Flow. Sorry, going back a little bit about Flow, is like Flow was, they didn't cartoonize the animals. They had the animals acting like animals. Like it was, like especially the cat. The cat is like like if you know cats, or you've seen cats, or you've been around cats, and you see how this cat reacts in the film, you're like, oh yeah, I can imagine a cat acting like that. Like, oh yeah, I've seen cats act like that. Like, I'm not a cat expert. I'm not an expert on every animal that is in the film Flow. But it's from what I know about the animals, it's like it's animals acting as animals. And maybe they took some little liberties for storytelling to tell the story, but it didn't do it in like a cartoony type of way. So anyway, so back to Dinosaur, I was kind of hoping that it's like, oh, maybe they'll tell this whole story with dinosaurs, but not have talking dinosaurs. You just follow, and I'd be captivated. I'd be like, dinosaurs, you got me sold. Like just watching dinosaurs, cool. Huge fan of Jurassic Park. I love the Jurassic Park. I like the Jurassic Park films better when they're good. But if you got some fun dinosaur action, I'm there. But I'm not, this isn't a review about all the Jurassic Park films. That's a whole nother topic, whole nother can of worms with some of my thoughts on some of those films. But I do love dinosaurs, but it's kind of nice. I'm like, I like the Jurassic Park films, and I like dinosaurs with people, but I kind of want to see dinosaurs are just acting as dinosaurs with other dinosaurs. And so the prospect of this film Dinosaur from Disney looked like, ooh, this looks really cool. Oh, and the music. Oh, the music from Dinosaurs, and the music in the trailer, which is the beginning of the film. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And so when I started to see advertising for the film, the dinosaurs were talking, and then it became more cartoony. Now, I'm not saying you can't make a dinosaur film with talking dinosaurs. The Land Before Time, the first one, not all of the endless sequels, I'm just talking about the first one. It's a great movie. It is really good. And so, but it does take a little bit of a disbelief because they're talking dinosaurs, but you understand that from the concept. And that works for what it is, but it's like once dinosaurs start talking, it kind of develops a little bit of a humanistic state to it. And so, okay, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking Land Before Time, but Dinosaur also has a connection to Land Before Time, because with the whole talking dinosaurs thing, by the time I actually ended up seeing Dinosaur, which, like I said, I didn't see it in theaters, and I think it was because I was put off, because I was excited to see this film without talking dinosaurs, and then when I started seeing that they were talking dinosaurs, I think I subconsciously grew less interested in the film. And then I finally eventually saw the film when it was on Disney Channel, and essentially it is kind of, in a lot of ways, it is a reimagined Land Before Time live action, or it's not live action because it's live action footage with the scenery and all that, but it is kind of like, in a way, it felt like a live action Land Before Time, but not as good. I mean, it just, when they have the dinosaurs talking, it's like, okay, well then I've got to be drawn. Once the dinosaurs start talking, I have to be interested in the characters. I have to be involved in the characters, and I think that's where Dinosaur lost me. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have bad characters, it's okay. As far as the storyline, whether it was dinosaurs or other animals, it's okay. Story, Land Before Time compared to Dinosaur, Land Before Time, leaps and bounds, leaps and bounds. Land Before Time, leaps and bounds, surpasses Dinosaur. But it's interesting though, it's because, and like I said, it started to become more cartoony, and some of the things they do, it's like they do become more human-esque. Because I don't know if you could take Land Before Time and just watch, I mean maybe you could, I mean it has some good visuals, but there's definitely some more human qualities of the dinosaurs, there just is, but you're willing to suspend that disbelief because they're talking dinosaurs. But Dinosaur, we were introduced to them as these like more like real physical dinosaurs, more of what we got with Walking with Dinosaur. Interestingly enough, if I remember right, the Walking with Dinosaurs, the movie they did years and years later, which I think was the early 2000s, like 2010s or something, and that one's like, again, talking dinosaurs, and I'm like, I don't know, it's funny, like if it has a talking dinosaur, it has to really sell me with the story. Like, I'm more interested in it if the dinosaurs aren't talking. I don't know why. But like I said, I do, Land Before Time is a great film. And there's other films with talking dinosaurs that are good. Kind of a underrated one. I wouldn't say it's like great, stupendous, but it's worth saying, and I definitely remember, and there's a lot of things I like about it, would be the film We're Back. I'm okay with that one. But that one is part of the storytelling, is they kind of like, this scientist comes in and he like gives the dinosaurs something to make them more human-like. It like gives them the ability, it's like, oh, it takes, that's part of the plot of your We're Back, and that's fine, and that works for We're Back. But I was sold on Dinosaur, Disney's Dinosaur. I was sold on this trailer, and I was sold, I'm like, oh, this is a film with dinosaurs, and I could just watch visual dinosaurs, and I was just blown away. The moment these dinosaurs started talking is when I became less interested. And it really makes me wonder. And like I said, I can't say because I don't know if it would or not, but I think it would. I feel very strongly that if Disney would have done a different approach, if they would have just decided, like, they went with it, like Flo did. If they would have just decided, like, we're gonna tell a story with dinosaurs, but we're not gonna have them talk. We're gonna do them, like, as realistic dinosaurs as we know dinosaurs would be, and have them act like dinosaurs, like you're watching this nature documentary, but we're not gonna have any narration, we're not gonna have any talking, and you're just gonna watch the story with the dinosaurs. I think it would have been captivating. I remember seeing that trailer in theaters. I remember how captivated I was just that 4 minutes, and you'd think like, oh, 4 minutes is too long for a trailer, but no, it really worked. And if it wasn't for the next marketing, like if I hadn't seen the marketing with talking dinosaurs, maybe I would have seen the film. I probably would have had a more likelihood of seeing it. I think I did grow less interested when I saw that the dinosaurs were talking. I'm like, I don't know, this isn't the film that I was interested in seeing that you were showing before. I just looked, but I don't know. I do think like how successful it would have been in theaters, if it would have been more or less sequel, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have done more, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe people would have been like, I don't know if I want to sit in a whole movie about dinosaurs where there's no dialogue. Maybe it would have been a harder sell for some people, and maybe that's why Disney didn't do it. But honestly, I think and like I said, that's what I am going to say, I think, but I'm going to say I feel very strongly about this. If they would have just committed to it, if they would have just told a story with dinosaurs, no dialogue, no narration, and just seen this story of dinosaurs acting like dinosaurs, and this narration of like that leads the dinosaurs along, whatever it is, even if it was similar to The Land Before Time or something different, I think it would have been captivating. And I think it would have developed a bigger following if they would have done that film. So, because like the moment the dinosaurs were talking, it's like, oh, now I've got to be invested in the characters. Now I've got to be invested in the... It's like, if you don't care about the characters, then I no longer care about this film. But with the visuals with the dinosaurs were just fascinating to watch and just look at. And so I really think having the dinosaurs talk in the film Dinosaur bogged it down. And so, and like, I know there's other films where they have no dialogue. I know there's other films where or maybe there is dialogue, but it's in another language that you don't know. Or maybe it's, I did do a little bit of research because I was kind of curious about there's a film, it's called The Tribe, and it's like they're all deaf kids. And so there's probably sign language in that film, but if you don't know sign language, then that's all visual storytelling to you. Like, you don't know, you have to like see visually what's going on. But my guess is there is sign language, but I think my guess is there's sign language, but then there's probably some characters that don't know sign language. And so, wow, I'm already selling myself on this film that I don't know hardly anything about. But visual storytelling is just fascinating to me, and I almost forgot I told you I was going to tie it back into Fantasia, because I talked about Dinosaur, and probably my favorite sequence from the original Fantasia film, and that's all storytelling with music, like taking these famous music pieces and using visual storytelling. But The Rite of Spring, that sequence with the two dinosaurs, the T-Rex versus the Stegosaurus, and let me see. I originally was going to do this setup where you saw these little dinosaurs I have, and I'm going to show you this. Like, how cool is this? As a dinosaur head, that's what all the dinosaurs are. You just put this. How cool is that? Dinosaurs in a dinosaur. That's like one of the coolest. I think that's cool. But anyway, I was gonna do a cool setup where you like see the dinosaurs on the floor, but the equipment I have to work with, like I don't have a stand that goes down really low, so I wasn't able to get it low enough, and I couldn't get it. I tried putting it on chairs and that, and it just didn't work. So I had to give up my setup, but I do have these two little, I'll just tell these, so it's like, oh wait a minute, I think it's on there, so like, classic scene from Fantasia. Oh, I can't do the thing, but just imagine the music. Yeah, just let's do like a. I know it's kind of hard to do it with, it was hard to see, but you know Fantasia, you've seen the scene, you know what I was doing. And it's visual storytelling. It's fascinating. And I kind of feel like I'd be interested to see more films that commit to like an entire film without any dialogue and just show the story visually, and you just discover the story visually. You see what's happening, and it's fascinating. And so again, sorry about all the setup. I mean, it's funny, like I have access to a green screen, that's why you're seeing the green on my face just going, but I'm not as, I've never used a green screen, so I'm not as sure about how to actually use it. So I'm gonna do some research and figure out the green screen, so maybe in the next video I rent the space out again, it'll be a little bit better, have some background in there. I don't know, we'll see what we do when it may be a while till I do another video, I don't know, but I wanted to do this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry you just had to look at my face this whole time, but I had a lot I wanted to talk about, and I enjoyed doing this video, so I want to thank you, and goodbye.